Hari Hari. So it is very important that before beginning part 2 of the Bhagavad Gita certification course, this particular course, that you go back, and if you have not done part 1, it is essential that you go back and complete part 1, because I will be building on each part with each subsequent video and course. So rather than continuing to repeat everything all over again in each video, it's important that you spend the time to watch the first video, take the examination of the first video before going on to the second, because this video, along with the third and the fourth, are going to build on the knowledge, the information provided in the first video, so I don't have to repeat everything 3-4 times. The examination for this video will be in the description of this video as well. So there are 4 Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. Dharma gives the foundations for creating a successful life, so we know what a successful life actually comprises. What are the interactions of all these different parts? Kind of like a puzzle, all the pieces are laid before us, and we need to understand what are the corners, what's the center, what are the colors, shapes, and so on, so we know how to begin piecing together the puzzle of a successful human life. Artha is the means of achieving a successful life, what must be done in order to achieve and create a successful human life. Kama is often described as enjoying the senses, but really what it means is having the ability to live in this world without physical, mental, emotional, intellectual ailments, so that you're able to use the body, use the mind, use the intelligence to create and manifest a successful human life. Then there is the goal of life. Previously, in the previous video, I used the example of a chess game. The goal of chess is to capture the king. The goal of a successful human life is to capture, to control, or have mastery over the Irishudvargas, Kam, Krodh, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, to have mastery over material nature, so that we are not conditioned by material nature. Rather, we're able to exist in this world not being under the control of material nature. That's the game. That is the goal of a successful life. That is the moksha. Again, moksha is described as 2 types. I covered that in the previous video, the first video. This is Narad Muni's description on how the human being can fulfill the 4 Purusharthas. Dharmartha kama mokshakyam ya ichich shreya atmanah ekam hyeva harastatra karanam bhadasevanam. Any person who desires the fruits of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha should engage himself in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari. For worship of his lotus feet yields the fulfillment of all of these, of all four of them. So the fulfillment of Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha, as described by Narad Muni, is Hari Pada Sevanam. In this course, we're going to cover the teachings in the Bhagavad Gita on these four pillars, Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. This video, we're going to focus on Artha, the second of the four Purusharthas. So I've selected two verses to highlight teachings on Artha. They're from the Bhagavad Gita chapter 3, verses 8 and 9. Niyatam guru karma tvam karma jayo hya karmanaha sharira yatra pichate na prasiddhyatya karmanaha. Perform your duty, your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. So Krishna is telling Arjuna, you're going to have to work anyway. Earlier on in this very chapter, not 3 shlokas prior, text number 5, Krishna says, Nahi kashikshanamapi jatu tishtatya karmakrit karyate hyavasha karma sarva prakritir jair gunai. Everyone, Krishna says, is forced to act according to the qualities of the 3 modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even for a moment. Everyone is forced by Prakriti to act in some way, shape, or fashion. So Krishna is saying, if you're going to be forced to act, perform your prescribed duties. You're going to have to act anyway. You can't even survive without some form of action. Perform your prescribed duty. Text 9, Krishna goes on to say, Yajnarthat karma non yatra loko yam karma bandhana tarattam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work causes bondage in this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. We went in detail, a discussion about karma in the first video. We won't cover it here because we covered it in such much detail previously. Action creates consequences. So Krishna is saying you're going to have to act. Everyone is forced to act according to Prakriti. You may as well act according to your prescribed duties. On top of that, even your prescribed duties will cause bondage, karma bandhana. With that bondage comes samsara, repeated birth and death in the material world. So rather than being bound to the material world and material existence, perform those same prescribed duties for the satisfaction of Vishnu. Let's explore. In chapter 4 of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna describes the 4 types of action, 4 types of activity. The first is karma. These are prescribed by the Vedas, activities that are in accordance to the Vedic principles, in accordance to dharma. We talked about dharma in the first video. Please, you must go back and start there. Otherwise, a lot of what we'll cover here will not make sense to you. Acting according to the principles of Dharma, or actions and prescribed duties in accordance with the principles of Dharma, that is described as karma. Such activities bring positive consequences. They bring positive consequences. Then there is Vikarma. Vikarma are all activities, engagements that are forbidden or that are contrary to the principles of Dharma. Those activities bring negative consequences, obviously. Steal, lie, cheat, and so on and so forth. The consequences are going to be unpleasant. That's Vikarma. Then the third type of activity, Akarma. Akarma are similar activities to karma. They are also prescribed by the Vedas. They are also in accordance with the principles of Dharma. However, the difference between karma and akarma is that karma, activities in accordance with the principles of Dharma, give good consequences. Akarma, also activities in accordance with the principles of Dharma, do not give or lead to any consequences whatsoever. The word I put here is inconsequential, but that's not entirely accurate. Inconsequential means insignificant or not important. The consequences of akarma, if you will, are that everyone involved is spiritually benefited. In the previous video, part 1, I gave the example of myself watering a banana tree. My watering a banana tree is karma. It is in accordance with the principles of Dharma. Both myself and the banana tree are benefited. But we are also now, once again, tied to samsara, the cycle of birth and death, inasmuch as these activities of watering the plant has to be reciprocated back and forth between me and the jiva that is the banana tree. It's all good. It's all positive. It's punya. However, if I had given the banana tree charanamrit, still watering the banana tree, but now it's charanamrit. The action of giving the banana tree charanamrit does not give good consequences in the sense that it does not bind me to the banana tree in the sense where I have to remain in samsara. My seva of giving charanamrit to the banana tree actually helps to free me from samsara. When we help others progress in their spiritual journey, we also are benefited. The guru is as benefited from serving the disciple by teaching, guiding, and so on, as the disciple is from receiving such teachings and guidance. The banana tree, which I had just given charanamrit, is also benefited, not by me. There is no karmic bondage to me by the jiva that is the banana tree. There is a spiritual bond, but that spiritual bond has nothing to do with taking birth in the material world. It is above, it is transcendental to samsara. So the word inconsequential is inaccurate. It is inconsequential in the sense that there are no consequences, there are no material consequences which causes myself and the banana tree to remain in samsara. But we are both greatly, powerfully, spiritually benefited. We are both greatly and powerfully and connected with the Supreme in the act of my giving Charanamrit to the banana tree. This is why after Abhishek, we do not throw away Charanamrit. We give it to other living entities. We put it in the garden. We give it to the banana trees. We give it to Tulsi Devi, whomever, depending on the Abhishek. We give it to other living entities. We do not throw away Charanamrit. So this is Akarma. In effect, this is Karma Yoga. Akarma is Karma Yoga. Work or activities that unify. Work that unifies, that connects us with the Supreme. There is work, prescribed duties, which give or lead to karma bandhana, the bondage of work. So there's karma bandhana, then there's karma yoga. Karma bandhana is karma and vikarma. Activities that are according to the principles of dharma are contrary to the principles of dharma, all fine, but it's all karma bandhana. One gives good consequences, one gives bad consequences, but it's all karma bandhana. In other words, we are bound to samsara. That's karma bandhana. Karma yoga is giving charanamrit. I'm going to water the banana anyway, I may as well give charanamrit. I'm going to engage in prescribed duties anyway, rather than having my prescribed duties bind me to samsara. Rather, they liberate both myself and anyone else involved in that activity. So we want to engage in karma yoga, not karma bandhana. Even worse, vikarma, which are activities contrary to the principles of dharma. How? How is it that karma yoga cuts the bonds of karma bandhana, that it eliminates, purifies us of karma and leads to mukta sangha samachara, leads to mukti. Actually, mukta sangha is different, but how does karma yoga do this? What is karma yoga? That was in chapter 3, text number 9. Yajñarthat karma nonnatra loko yam karma bandhana. Taratam kama kauntaya mukta sangha samachara. Yajñarthat, for the sake of yajna. For the sake of that person who can destroy karma. There are only two people in all of creation who can do this, who can eliminate karma. We talked about karma in the last video. Remember how karma is the diesel, the petrol, the gasoline that turns the wheel of the vehicle. It's the energy that turns the wheel of samsara. Only two people can stop that wheel turning in our life. They are Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. Muktada means the giver of liberation. Lord Shiva is able to give liberation because he can cause the consequences of action to evaporate and purify us of karma bandhana. Lord Vishnu is called Mukunda because Lord Vishnu, Krishna, can also similarly evaporate the reactions of our activities. This is how Akarma or Karma Yoga is what Krishna is recommending Arjuna to engage in. If we engage in Karma Yoga, then we're engaged in all kinds of activities in Karma Yoga without any consequences without being bound to samsara. We have to understand what that means in connection with Vishnu and Lord Shiva. This is the blessing. This is the opportunity that we can still be engaged in our prescribed duties according to the principles of Dharma. If we simply connect the Supreme, then we completely change the trajectory of our journey in this world and the journey of others around us. Perform your prescribed duty, for doing so is better than not working. One cannot even maintain one's physical body without work. We have to work. Chapter 3, text 5, Krishna confirms we are forced to do some kind of activity by material nature. Inactivity is not an option. So at least do your prescribed duties. Such work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu, for the Supreme, has to be performed, otherwise karma bandhana. Work causes bondage, whether it's karma or vikarma, whether it's according to the principles of dharma or counter to the principles of dharma, there is karma bandhana. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way you will always remain free from bondage. Krishna will deal with the consequences. We don't have to worry. Now, there's a whole process for connecting ourselves to Krishna. It's not just that we say, oh, I'm going to do this in the name of God and go and engage in foolishness. It does not work that way. That's another topic for another time in detail. But connecting ourselves with the Supreme and engaging our prescribed duties and connecting ourselves and our prescribed duties with Krishna, we become free of karma. This is Artha. This is the how to live a successful life. Any person who desires the fruits of the four principles of Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha should engage himself in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for worship of his lotus feet yields the fulfillment of all these. It's now becoming clear as we explore Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha, becomes clear as we explore the Bhagavad Gita why this verse, why Narada Muni is saying what he's saying. The Bhagavad Gita highlights, gives explanation to this verse of Narada Muni's.